Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us at the Acronis webinar. Today we will discuss a topic that is becoming very important for original equipment manufacturers: how to deliver systems that are not only high-performing, but also safer. The pressure is growing from both threats and regulations. For example, in Europe, NIS2 is already in force from 2024, and the Cyber Resilience Act is moving into implementation, while IEC 6244341 is becoming a stronger signal of secure product development. So during this webinar, we will speak about cyber resilience, supplier trust, and how Acronis can support OEMs to ensure that their product can recover fast when something goes wrong. For those who is joining us for the first time, Acronis is the only platform that natively integrates cybersecurity, data protection, infrastructure management, and service automation in a single agent and console. We enable MSPs, IT, and OT departments to consolidate their tool stack, increase margins, and deliver complete NIST-aligned protection in one platform across endpoints, Microsoft 365, cloud, virtual, and of course, OT environments. So now let's introduce our speakers. My name is Julia Kertes, and I will be your host for today's webinar. I'm a senior marketing manager at Acronis with a focus on operational technology, helping companies improve their cyber resilience. And for the first few minutes, I'm going to introduce a few slides to set the stage. It will take about 10 minutes of our time, and then we will bring our regional OEM experts for the panel discussion. Meenakshi, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Julia. Hello, everybody. I'm super excited to be a part of this webinar. My name is Meenakshi Alexander. I've been with Acronis for almost 11 years. My journey with OT cybersecurity and passion for OT cybersecurity started way back in 2020. I work as a team leader for OEM, and my core focus is Middle East market. I'm super excited to be a part of this journey, and let's see how we explore this webinar. And we hope this will be fruitful and engaging.
Thank you so much for joining us. Uwe, welcome to this webinar. Thank you for joining. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. My name is Uwe Keiter. I'm with Acronis only a couple of months now, but I have a wide background in the OT industry. I have worked more than 30 years, 35 plus years in that industry, working for technology providers in the automation and drive system area, and also with big users in various industries, let it be CPG or automotive. So I'm super excited to be part of the panel here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uwe. Thank you for joining us. Biren Jajal, it's your turn.
Thanks, Julia. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Biren Jajal. I'm a senior OEM partner account manager here at Acronis. I've been with Acronis for about 13 years, but about 30 or so years in the industry, covering the areas of data protection, disaster recovery, cybersecurity, virtualization, and enterprise storage. And today I focus in on helping and empowering our OEM partners to deliver cyber resilient business continuity solutions in the areas of backup, security, and management, and just helping them to meet their compliance and deliver their solutions. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. And I'm very excited to start our webinar. So if we will look at the threat landscape in OT industries, we all see that it keeps getting more serious. And here I want to share some stats from the recent SANS OT security survey and report, where 22% of organizations said that they had a cybersecurity incident in the last 12 months, and almost half of those incidents caused operational disruption. It also highlights that detection in OT is getting better, but recovery is still too slow, nearly 20% taking more than a month to remediate. And moving back to the slide, we also see a clear shift in what is driving risk. So ransomware is rapidly moving from IT into OT, with more attacks purposely targeting OT environments. We also see more nation state pressure and more supply chain compromise. At the same time, many critical functions depend on legacy Windows and Linux systems. Beyond that, remote access remains a major weak point, confirming that segmentation and air gapping alone are not enough to protect OT systems from compromise. So when we look at the trend in the compliance regulations for OT, the direction is also very clear. So different frameworks require the same: stronger access control, better system integrity, documented backup and recovery, and what is really critical for OT is assured system availability and real business continuity. And with the European Union Cyber Resilience Act now in force and moving toward application, OEMs need to build resilience into their product lifecycle. With this quote from CRA, I wanted to highlight new expectations for digital industrial products, as it says that essential functions must stay available after an incident. So what does this mean in practice? Here I put a real-world scenario and wanted to show that OEMs, they not only ship in a control system, but deliver DCS, SCADA, engineering workstations, and servers into environments, like in this example, refineries, power plants, large manufacturing sites. And then OEMs support them for many years. And this is where reliable recovery becomes part of the OEM value, helping make uptime, compliance, and long-term services more predictable. So after looking at the pressure on OEMs, the next question is, can you trust the software supplier itself? And this is what IEC 6244341 certification helps to establish, because it focuses on the secure product development lifecycle. And here I wanted to illustrate that Acronis achieved it recently, and it was independently validated across whole lifecycle, which is really shows the reliability of the vendor. And for OEMs, this is particularly important because weak development or weak update process can turn one supplier into a supply chain risk. So in case of Acronis, our solution combines that secure development foundation with supporting legacy Windows and Linux systems, air-gapped environments, and fast local recovery. So it also was already tested, trusted by major automation vendors and industrial customers. And if we will translate it into the CRA requirements, so the main first idea is about practical resilience. The product must help protect availability after an incident, support secure by default settings and reset to an original state, and protect integrity of data configurations and programs. For OEMs, Acronis supports this with fast restoration to known good state, documented recovery, workflows, restore validation, and centralized policies that make recovery more predictable and controlled. And the second CRA message is lifecycle responsibility. So manufacturers need to address vulnerabilities through secure updates, limit attack surface, and reduce incident impact, keep relevant logging and monitoring, and maintain these obligations across the whole life cycle: planning, design, development, and maintenance. And Acronis again can support it operationally with controlled patching where feasible, malware impact reduction, administrative and audit style visibility, and compliance evidence. But please note that it doesn't replace the OEM's own secure development, vulnerability handling, and documentation duties. So the key takeaway here is that the CRA is pushing OEMs to think across the full life cycle, from secure development to predictable recovery in the field. And as I mentioned earlier, Acronis gives OEMs compliance-ready recovery with centralized monitoring, reporting, protection policies, and encryption. It enables safe, rapid restore at customer side through one-click recovery and backup hygiene before recovery. And with integration options through APIs, it can feed into the OEM's ecosystem. In simple terms, less downtime, fewer escalations, stronger compliance evidence, and a better service experience for customers. And this is where Acronis solution fits into the Purdue model. Acronis is typically deployed at level 3.5, which is IT/OT buffer zone, level 3 for engineering workstations and historians, and level 2 for HMIs and operator stations. And this matters because these systems levels, they have systems like Windows and Linux, which at some point become legacy, like for example, Windows 10 LTSC. And Acronis continues to support OT operating systems from XP era to present without forcing disruptive rip and replace approach. And this brings us to the discussion. We've looked at the threats landscape, the compliance pressure, the OEM lifecycle responsibility, and the practical role of recovery in real OT environments. And now I'd like to bring our panel speakers back in, moving from framework to field experience. So to open the discussion, I'd like to start with a question that connects directly everything we've just covered. How have customers' expectations changed in your regions regarding cybersecurity and cyber resilience in OEM delivered systems over the last few years? Mina, would you like to start?
Thank you, Julia. That was a very good presentation and an intro, really amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yes, from Middle East perspective, because I work on a Middle East area and my core expertise are there, what I have seen over the last 2 to 3 years is now the discussions are changing from compliance to resilience. Before it was like a checkbox or a tick in the box that, okay, there is a compliance, I need to get my cybersecurity on it. It's not anymore like that. It's more about ensuring are the operations are continuous. Is the operation continuity there? And the focus is that whatever happens, the operation shouldn't go down. That's the idea now, right? So the customers are looking for an answer, and that's what they're looking from an OEM, is that if something goes down, how fast can you recover? How soon can I come back? That's what is going on in the mind. So first, it's a very clear demarcation that resilience is not just another tick in the box. It's the major thing and one of the key factors to be considering when you're considering cybersecurity and OT cyber resilience.
Thank you, Mina. Very good point. Uwe, what do you see in your region? You work in Europe where the compliance is quite strict.
Yeah, I work in Europe, as you said, Julia. Thanks for asking the nice question here. And I would like to take that a little bit in a wider scope here, because what we have seen when COVID hit us and afterwards the supply chain crisis were in the market, we could see and it was proven how vulnerable our complete ecosystem is. So, and that was not only valid for the OEMs, for the vendors, it was valid for all of us. Everybody in the ecosystem was affected. And this is not even, we are not even talking about cybersecurity in this point here. This was just a supply chain issue and nothing else. When we see what happened with some ransomware attacks that hit the industry here in Europe badly, sometimes in the CPG industry, we have seen a couple of these ransomware attacks that was changing the mindset of the people and of the companies. And everybody is now more looking into cybersecurity, into what is necessary when we are talking about cyber resilience. And this is opening up the landscape for companies like Acronis. We also have our competitors in the market, but with the solutions that we come with the backup solutions, that even if a ransomware attack has hit the company, that they can recover immediately with the backups, get the systems back online again and start production. And this goes then also in line with the Cyber Resilience Act, because Cyber Resilience Act is forcing the companies to provide their systems with a solution that is, first of all, there is no data loss. at the end of the day, but also a quick recovery. So, and that is changing the landscape here completely in the industry. And this is for the OEMs, so the machine builders or the technology providers that build equipment that goes into the big production facilities, but also the production facilities, the production, the big end users. They have to take care about the Cyber Resilience Act and about their supply chain.
Yeah, very good point. There are different types of OEMs, and it's really applicable to all of them.
Yeah.
Biren, what do you see in United States? How it goes there?
Julia, thank you. So it's very similar concerns across our OEMs here in North America as well. I think for us, we've seen a shift from, this mindset of can you prevent an incident to can you quickly, safely, and predictably recover from an incident. So I think organizations with a more mature security model sort of take this into mind. And what we're seeing those companies adopt is sort of three principles. One is recovery, it has to be engineered into the product. Two, recovery has to be verifiable. And then customers, I think, expect the OEMs also to have a shared responsibility for resilience. And so our OEMs are seeing a kind of shift in adoption to these three principles. And a lot of this shift and this approach is sort of guided by the governing agencies here in North America, one of which is CISA. And CISA publishes guidelines or performance goals, which frame the cybersecurity success in terms of measurable outcomes. And one of those measurable outcomes is, recovery and response. And so I think recovery and response is not just a kind of technical feature of solutions. It's more of a leadership KPI. So it becomes a really critical measurement factor for organizations. How much downtime is acceptable. And for, downtime for automation organizations, industrial, organizations who deliver these kinds of solutions can result in, millions of dollars of downtime for their customers if something goes down. So it's very critical to have recovery that's, again, quick, safe, predictable. And these kind of performance-based outcomes, are very visible, and I think became more and more visible with some of the incidents that happened. For example, with the Colonial Pipeline incident, the TSA initiated pipeline security directives that emphasize the importance of having an incident response plan, testing that plan, evaluating the outcomes. And in the energy sector, NERC CIP is what sort of guides a lot of the directives that organizations follow, and they push utilities to formalize their vendor and lifecycle risk evaluation and provide clear, kind of verifiable artifacts or evidence that they're complying to those kinds of guidelines. So those are some of the considerations here in the North American market.
I see. Yeah, and what you mentioned is also these industries, they have very strict compliance regulations, as you said, and any change what happens in their environment, they have to go through the validation process, and this is just a nightmare. So better to have everything in place from the beginning. And let's move to the next question. So how do various types of OEMs differ in their resilience expectations? Biren, would you like to start now?
Sure. Well, we have a number of different types of OEMs. I think there's, generally speaking, 5 or so categories of OEM partners that work here with Acronis. There's the industrial automation vendors that deliver SCADA systems and distributed control systems. We have medical equipment providers who also embed Acronis in with their solutions, industrial PC providers, hyper-converged storage vendors, hard drive manufacturers. So those are sort of the broad categories. And I think the expectations around resilience for all of them are a little bit different, but they do all share a kind of, rising accountability across all of their sectors. I mean, for industrial automation vendors, they have to deliver against compliance guidelines, such as the 62443 that you mentioned earlier. And again, with the rising level of, ransomware attacks or attacks in the manufacturing space, which I think were, increased last year to 22%, that and the kind of the level of costs related to their downtime, complying to those kinds of principles becomes really important. Medical equipment providers, they have different requirements. They have to worry about their systems being validated. They can't change anything in those systems. They have to recover them exactly as they were and comply to certain guidelines like the FDA or GMP or GLP. Industrial providers, PC providers, they got to worry about how quickly they can get their systems back with minimal IT intervention and so on. These, the different providers have different requirements, but again, I think accountability, availability, quick recoverability are important to all of them.
Thank you, Biren. Uwe, you have the most extensive experience here in OT environments. What do you think about this?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I can only echo what Biren was saying. We have different types of industries that require different types of security and resilience. But from the broader perspective, what I have seen in over the last years was it all started with having an image of the first installation of a PC, of a SCADA system that was somewhere in a locker at the end user, and when something happens, we have an image of the system. That was the beginning of the whole setup here. But nowadays we can see that the industry is changing, that there is a demand for regular backups, because that image doesn't help you when you restore the PC with that. You lose a lot of data that has been produced in the meantime. So that doesn't help you with the recovery. What you need is regular backups, and to make sure you lose as less as data as possible when you have to restore. And this is changing the industry, and this is despite the area of the industries that people are asking for high sophisticated backup systems that also integrate malware and ransomware protection and a quick recovery. And as Biren said, no IT intervention is critical here, because when we see we have to recover an OT system, I mean, we all know when this happens. It's Friday night, almost 12 at night. There is no IT person available. And the only one who can work on that is the one who is working at the machine, and is for sure not an IT expert. But with that one-click recovery that we support, even these people are able to recover the system and bring it up and run again. So, and this is important, and this is what the industry is looking for, and this is also the OEMs that have to provide their systems ready with a solution like that, but also the end users that are asking for equipment that is cyber ready somehow.
Mina, would you like to add anything? I think it was already all said.
Yeah, I can only echo what Biren and Uwe are talking about, but just one line that I would like to add from a Middle East perspective is that Middle East is going into smart city kind of a concept. So we have smart buildings, smart operations, and then we are also coming up a lot of transportation that's been increasing throughout the rail transports for us out here in Middle East. So that's another way of looking at the critical infrastructure, because when you talk about smart buildings, it's very nice to have, but if something goes down, oh boom, everything is stopped, right? So the discontinuity is a situation out here and it stops your real-time life. Like, for example, I'm living in a smart home. Imagine the smart home system goes down. What do I do? Okay, I cannot handle the smart fancy home because I cannot use it. So that's also a critical part of it from a real-time use case scenario perspective. And Middle East is looking for protecting that as well. So we have building management systems, more than the regular DCS and SCADA systems that we use in the oil and gas and power and energy. This is something that is growing up in the region. Then we have rail automation systems. Now in rails, what happens is like you cannot touch the train when it is in transit. So the only way, and this is from a live example when I was doing one of the projects in Saudi Arabia, I had to do a POC with my engineer at 1 a.m. in midnight because the guy would say, don't touch my trains because during the production hours, I cannot even touch the system and see it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then there comes the compliance where the regulatory says that you cannot install any outside software which is not tested, validated, and approved. Even if it is a backup, you need to make sure that it is not changing anything in my system. So the requirement from different customer, different vertical, different industry is very, very different and has to be, customized according to their pain points is what I would like to echo here with my colleagues.
Thank you, Mina. And this reminds me about our possibility to use our solution without stopping the production.
Definitely. So I didn't want it to talk about Acronis too much out here because,
it was such a good moment to mention it.
don't want to sound too salesy, but the thing is that Acronis really fits into the systems. Why? Because number one, we easily integrate with these complex systems because we are carrying an innovation of image level backup solution from 20 plus years. And over the years, the product has become so robust and it easily fits. It's like a charm to have Acronis with those systems. And you don't have to have a PhD using Acronis. Trust me on that. 3 clicks and the product is done. So an electrical engineer who doesn't understand the complexity of an IT infrastructure can also recover a machine. It's that seamless. And we at Acronis, because we understand the environment so very well with our experience, we keep improvising the product so much, so better that we know your pain point and we don't want you to, work hard towards it. We want you to focus on your operations, which is your main focus is your critical infrastructure should be working properly. And Acronis is actually a guardrail over there to making sure, hey, don't worry, something goes wrong, I'm here to back you up. So that's the concept we're talking about. And that's why Acronis is the most loved in the OT sector.
But if we talk about this, do you see any changes in procurement decisions in your regions influenced by these requirements for cybersecurity and recovery?
Yes. Over the years, like in the past, when the procurement used to talk about, like at least the OEMs, when they would like to talk about buying a cybersecurity, it was like, oh, what's the cost? How is it going to be working with Acronis software? Is it a specific term-based license? These kind of questions would have come in. And it was more like kind of like protection. Now it's like, it's not a nice to have, it's a must to have. So any OT project that you are going and installing, you need to have backup in it. It's by default. And that's where Acronis comes into the picture because 3 clicks and you can keep it using your 3-2-2-1 rule that you can have a 3 copy of backup to location. You can even store it to your tape drives, which rarely somebody is supporting. And even we come with supporting your legacy operating system. So procurement decisions have become very, very important and driving around the backup and recovery because in one way, it also works as your gate opener or a key to start your lifecycle assessment discussions with your own customers as an OEM. So for example, I'm an OEM. I implemented a DCS system like 10 years before. So the life cycle of that DCS for a renewal would come after 10 years. But I can always go back to that same vendor and say, you know what, your software is kind of expiring. And we need to see if your software is bringing vulnerabilities because Acronis can help you do that. And that it's kind of opening conversation for your upsell as well as cross-sell opportunities, not only to drive the decision making, but also to enforce your procurement to take fast decisions for your products.
Thank you, Mina. Uwe, do you see any difference in DACH region? You gave us so good overview how everything started in Europe.
No, I see absolutely the same as Mina already mentioned. The only thing that I would like to add here is the regulations are forcing the industry towards backup solutions and cybersecurity solutions. And this is not only that the OEM who is building some equipment and ships that equipment to a user, the user, they have to verify their supply chain, and they are pushing their suppliers towards cyber-ready, built-in cyber-ready by design equipment. And every equipment that is an electronic equipment that has an access somehow to the network has to be designed like that. That is the regulation that is enforcing that. And with these regulations, the mindset of the customers or of the companies is completely changing, and the buying procedure is changing. In the past, as Mina said, it was, we need something, and what is the cost? We have to add that to our system. Nobody will pay for that. That's gone, because the users, they will pay for it at the end of the day, because they have to provide a system and run a system that is cyber ready by design. And without their suppliers shipping the right equipment, they can't survive at the end of the day. So the whole supply chain has to be in the scope. That is the important part here.
Thank you, Uwe. Viren, would you like to add anything?
It's really the same ideas that Uwe, Mina mentioned. Again, cyber resilience is a gating requirement and not just a feature, and that's the key. And the customers are requiring their partners to contractually be responsible for uptime. So I think that's the main area. So then in that sort of cascades into procurement teams expecting vendors to be able to deliver the capabilities that will allow those customers to maintain and vendors to maintain their contractual requirements. And that's going to include, the recovery, the backup recovery capabilities, some kind of proof of resilience, compliance alignment. In here in North America, it's going to be, again, compliance with like CISA or NERC CIP is what we see most often. Some kind of demonstrable restore performance, being able to bring those systems up very quickly, because that's the critical issue
or
for
GXP
customers.
For biopharma, right? So also very strict.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So I think, just that whole set of capabilities helps, the OEM partner accelerate their deal cycles and win competitive bids, because it makes them more competitive and lets them meet their obligations.
Thank you, Viren. Okay, and now let's talk about the brand and reducing legal risks. What, from your perspective, variable recovery making it so important for protecting it in OEM space? Uwe, would you like to start?
Yeah, I can start. Thanks for the question. I mean, it also goes back to the reliability of the OEMs for their products, according to the CRA. And when we are talking here about the brand reputation and the legal risks, I mean, imagine you have a big user that is producing some food stuff, critical food stuff for everybody, let's say baby milk or whatever. And imagine something happens and ransomware attack hits the company. They run out of production. They run out of stock. It's a critical thing also for the whole ecosystem then, and for the moms with their kids. And if then something can be proven that an OEM who supplied a machine or a technology provider who supplied a SCADA system into that system was the one who was guilty where the ransomware attack hit, then this is a really will affect legal topics. So there will be for sure something that they might be sued or some whatever, but also the brand reputation for this OEM will dramatically be affected. So it's in the interest of everybody to do whatever they can. I mean, nothing is 100%. We are all clear. We cannot protect everything, and we will not be. We cannot assure that no ransomware, no malware attack will hit somewhere. But if we can prove that we have done the best to our knowledge to avoid that, then that is what is needed.
Thank you, Biren. Would you like to talk a little more about variability of recovery in this case?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think reliability recovery is essentially a shield against legal claims, right? So if the partner, the customer can return a system to a known good state, if the recovery is, validated and repeatable, and the restoration happens within minutes without IT intervention, that's going to act as a kind of shield for the customer to prevent any kind of liability, legal claims and requirements, and all that. Again, I think lends itself to preserving the brand reputation. I mean, if something negative does happen, in the example that you had mentioned, then the implication from a brand perspective is long and severe. And then on the flip side, if something positive happens, I think it's a big contributor to making sure that the trust and reliability of the vendors involved, that story can spread widely and help the brand as well. So I think recovery speed, reliability of the recovery can be really important. It's a kind of strategic necessity, I'd say, for the customers in terms of reducing liability and improving and preserving brand reputation.
Yeah, especially in the world where we know that this is not the question if something can happen, it's the question when. So,
right.
And it's not just about the cybersecurity incidents, simply the hardware can fail, right? It's also already downtime and everything you still need to recover. Mina, would you like to add anything here as well?
Yeah. So on that, I like to give a real use case scenario. So I'm a person who likes to talk about real use case scenarios, So, whatever is happening around the world right now, we're living in a very vulnerable area. Everybody, we don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be a nation state attack. There's going to be a cyber war, or what is happening. So the first thing, and I was in a conversation with one of my OEM, and he was like, Mina, do you know, whenever we are backing up, is it verified that this specific backup can be recovered anytime with the same state that I did the backup of? So how do you assure that this backup is verifiable, right? So, and why this question is coming from an OEM, I'm 100% sure there's a customer who's asking for it, and maybe he has seen that something happened and he was not able to recover to the same state, but he recovered something else which was not backed up. All right. So this is a real situation that is happening. And that's the reason there's a more requirement of people asking to see there's a verifiable backup. Yes, compliance is important. Regulations are important. And this is driving. But we also need to see from a user perspective, if he's not having a verifiable recovery that he actually backed up, which is away from any malicious worms or, content, he will not be back to production. And if he's not back to production, every minute he's losing millions and millions of dollars, which is straightly impacting not only the user, but the people connected across the supply chain, the users, people who are, producing, delivering. Everybody is impacted. Even common man is impacted. So verifiable backups are very, very important. Nowadays, when you are doing, and this is how the OEM and end user contracts work, you have a component which talks about SLAs. SLA breaches cost a penalty. And you cannot imagine the penalty is huge, all right? And if that penalty could be taken care by a teeny weeny software, which is like Acronis, which actually takes care of a sure backup, and we say that, Mr. Customer, when you are backing up to your recovery, you're getting a sure recovery, which is verified with your immutability, even if it is attacked, you're getting a clear copy of the backup that solves and saves him millions and billions of dollars he would have lost, because he can recover in minutes and he's recovering exactly what he wanted, which is clean, right? So this is where the impact of a verifiable recovery capabilities comes into the picture. So from an OEM perspective, if we look at it, it saves them from SLA breaches, legal complications, their brand, penalties, which is money coming because they have to pay for it. And also with all this, if I'm an OEM and if I can recover a clean copy during the incident, my goodwill and my brand visibility increases, because in Middle East, it's more about references. People talk. You know, that guy restored everything for me and that OEM is perfect. I think for the next project, we need to go back to them. So the word spreads faster and the brand building spreads faster in Middle East. And that's the reason these things are very important. And Acronis seamlessly does it.
All right, let's move to the next question. When resilience recovery capabilities are embedded in the product, how it can help financially as well to the OEMs?
Sure, I would love to. Imagine that you're selling a solution and not a product. That's the first message. You're going to the customer saying that you have the DCS comes with a backup, recovery, DR, and also an asset management system, which actually takes care of what is in your environment. It's a whole suite. He picks it, fixes it into his system, and that's it. His operation starts working. And this is you are approaching your customer like right now I consider myself as an OEM, and I'm approaching my customer as a full solution and not as a product vendor. So that's perceived very well. And this helps in the life cycle assessment programs, because you can keep going to the customer back and again saying, okay, let's have a look at your assets. Maybe your hardwares are outdated, or maybe your software needs patches. Let's see what are the vulnerabilities coming. And that opens a conversation for vulnerability assessment, patch management solution, backup and recovery capabilities. So you can keep going to your customer again and again, unlike the olden days where you just sell the product and that's it. You forget about it because it's a 15-year life cycle product is running. So from an OEM, selling a solution is the key. Now we're talking about solutioning out here and not product. And that's where the whole revenue mathematics changes, and OEMs who are able to provide this are actually seen differently, and they have an edge over the ones who are talking about it as a product solution.
And I would like to take an example here from a machine builder point of view. When we are talking about this revenue opportunities. I mean, when you sell a machine the first time into an end user, you probably see the machine at the day when you do the SAT, so the startup acceptance test at the end user. That is the last time that you see the machine. Then you hear nothing about the machine for years. And then out of a sudden, somebody is calling and says, we have the crappiest machine here on site because it's broken. All the other years it was the best machine, but at that day it's the worst. And then you hear about the machine again. And then you have to fix ad hoc a problem. If you have something in place like a subscription model of the cybersecurity and the backup solution, you have to go back to your customer every year. So you have to talk to the customer, and you have to do what Mina said. You have to verify that the hardware is not outdated, about the software, that everything is up to date, and all the backups and updates are in place. So you have a repetitive visiting of the customer and discussion with the customer, and the chances to sell the next machine are much higher because there's one term here and when I was at a machine builder, we had one term. Sales is selling the first machine. Service is selling the next ones. So, and this goes in line with this. I mean, we have to go back to the customer on a regular basis and check that everything is okay, and that they renew the license for the next year or the next term, let's say.
Thank you, Mina. Biren, would you like to cover here from your
I
perspective?
think UA and Mina covered a lot. I just will add that our OEMs, I think, are seeing recovery in cybersecurity as the new profit lever. And we are, as UA mentioned, there's subscription services. So we see a lot of our OEMs who were selling traditional perpetual licenses are shifting from perpetual to subscription licenses. And there's an emphasis on building ARR in their organizations just as much as it is, let's say, important for us as a technology company as well. So this shift from perpetual to subscription is definitely prevalent. And then I'd say even in our OEM partners, there's also sort of kind of generally speaking, kind of connected services organizations, and these sort of sell into their customer bases, whether they're their customers or customers of other OEM partners, a variety of services. And these are typically, again, but add-on services. It could be like, as Mina mentioned, something like a backup integrity validation services, or some kind of compliance aligned recovery evidence testing, or some kind of health subscription, health maintenance checks. And we're also seeing that those organizations have portions of those organizations are focused around managed OT services. So that's another area that we see kind of these organizations are shifting into, kind of like an MSP model, but OT centric, as long as they have access to the systems, which are typically air gap, but they might have kind of specialized access to provide add-on services where maybe that end customer doesn't have necessarily a big OT cybersecurity staff. Perhaps maybe that's evolving, and that's where an OEM vendor can add on value with a kind of managed OT service. The other areas we see kind of some of our vendors sort of have multi-tier packages, which are kind of ready-made with these services as well. So some of our partners will have backup security patching as a bundle, and then add-on services, and like the tier 2 version of that. The tier 3 might have those kind of managed OT services added on as well. So it's sort of I think, again, these are just recovery and cybersecurity services are a profit lever for our partners, and we're seeing that more and more. Even beyond just the traditional air gap type of services. I had a partner recently, just due to the events that Mina is experiencing in her region, the Middle East region, come to us with even cloud services as an add-on, because some of the partners want to get out of their geography into the cloud, and we offer cloud backup, cloud disaster recovery services. So that's even being considered now, and what would be traditionally air gapped, very closed environments. All kinds of new things that are shifting and happening, and OEMs are taking rapid, looking at these and taking kind of quick moves to be able to leverage the situations and provide that kind of protection and capability to their end customers.
Very interesting angle to see that now in air-gapped environment, even the cloud coming. So it's not fully air-gapped, yes. So, and here to continue our conversation, like OEMs often want to offer resilience, but without becoming the full cybersecurity vendor. So how can OEMs use Acronis solution to deliver protection without increasing internal cybersecurity complexity?
For me, the question here is not even that the OEMs want to offer a resilient solution. They have to. By the regulations, they have to offer something that is resilient and cyber ready. But their biggest problem is, all these multinational companies providing automation equipment around the globe, they might have the bandwidth also to invest into big IT infrastructure and cybersecurity teams. But even these people don't want to invent the wheel from scratch and start with a square and then in iterations until it's a circle at the end of the day. So they want to rely on companies like us, like Acronis, who have many years of experience in that area, and they want to make use of that. When we are talking about the typical machine builders, mid-sized machine builders, they for sure have not even the bandwidth to invest into IT infrastructure. They can't allow themselves to have a data center somewhere in the world. They have to rely on partners. And Acronis is for sure one of the best partners that they can have in terms of backup solution and resilience, and deliver the best in place solution for their customers at the end of the day.
Thank you. Biren, would you like to take over?
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on the end customer and the OEM partner. In some cases, some of our partners would want to offer kind of end-to-end strategy. In some other cases, they're kind of having a clear separation of concerns can be another approach, right, to take as well, where the OEMs deliver a verifiable recovery system as part of their solution, and the customers handle the threat detection, the SOC operations, and network security, and then Acronis provides, kind of the recovery and cybersecurity engine that interfaces with the OEM's solution. So I think it just kind of depends a little bit on situationally on what's appropriate for a different OEM and different end customer. But sometimes the separation of concerns can be valuable. Sometimes being able to approach it by unifying all of those under a single platform can be advantageous, and we can address both of those.
Nina, what do you think about this?
I have a little different approach out here, and that's I kind of agree, but I do have a little different approach out here, at least from my experience, what I see. Look, we need to understand that when we talk about OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, what's their priority is to sell their solution, their products, right? Their DCSs and SCADAs and PLCs. That's their first priority, all right? Of course, cybersecurity is really, really important considering the current situation, but that comes as their first KPIs and priorities for them to sell their solution. Now, you can see a different mix of OEM vendors. There are tier 1 vendors who can afford to have their own inbuilt cybersecurity team, and there are tier 2 OEMs who are automation vendors may not want to have their own integrated cybersecurity team, right? So there's a different vertical to it. Now, you don't have to be like an OEM doesn't need to become a cybersecurity solution provider as such, and they just need to embed the solution in a little smarter way. That is what I think. What they need to see is that there are 4 major things, or rather 5 major things that they need to think about when they're offering solution from a cybersecurity angle. One is backup and recovery, endpoint detection and response, patch management and vulnerability assessment, and visibility to their assets. Now, how about you get everything in one product, and instead of becoming a cybersecurity company, you just install this product with your solution, and that does the job. And this is where the OEMs that work with Acronis are considered to be on the edge, because they know that they don't have to invest the millions of dollars in creating a cybersecurity team, rather just install a smarter product, embed it with their offering, and provide a holistic solution to their customers, which takes care of the cybersecurity component of it. So this is where Acronis single agent, one solution, one agent, one component product comes into the picture, where we take care of backup, recovery, DR, endpoint protection and management. And with Acronis version 17, which we recently launched, we're talking about hardware and software inventory visibility. That means you know what is there in your infrastructure, buddy, now, before you didn't. And Acronis is helping you to do it instead of investing into a very expensive asset inventory or asset management tool. Our software is doing it for you. So my take is, if you're an OEM and your focus is selling your DCS and SCADA, keep doing it. Just sign up with Acronis and integrate it smartly, that you don't have to be a cybersecurity solution yourself or provider yourself, but you can provide the holistic solution. And again, I'm emphasizing on this approach, market yourself as a solution provider instead of a product company. That's the future.
Thank you so much. Very strong. I really like it. So, and now let's finish it with the European Union Cyber Resilience Act. As we discussed, it creates new obligations for connected products. So how OEMs, we basically covered it, but let's just kind of sum up how OEMs can prepare for these requirements. Uwe, as you are in Europe, please take this.
Yeah, and I mean, we covered a lot of what's been required by the CRA, but for me, it's the question of who's responsible at a customer, at an OEM, at an end user, wherever, who's responsible to take care about the CRA, that everything is implemented in the right way. This is the management, and the management has to prove that they have taken all the necessary actions to avoid any damage. And this is, they have to be trained, or have to make sure that they are trained on a regular basis. They don't need to be the cyber experts or the IT experts themselves. They can give that obligation to somebody else and say, hey, you are responsible in my company for that. Here's your budget, and make sure that everything is in line. But they still have to be in touch with these people. They have to make sure that everything is properly implemented, and they have to prove at the end of the day that they have, as I said, have taken all the necessary actions. Otherwise, if something goes wrong and the authorities can prove that they haven't done everything to what they needed to do, they are reliable for that. They have to. The company will be sued. They have to pay, and there are some numbers on the table that are really high and huge. So that will really injure the companies. But even as a managing director, as an owner of the company, the CEO of a company, you are personally reliable for that. So you cannot say in German terms that you have a GmbH and you are only reliable with a little amount of money at the end of the day. With this, if it's proven that you haven't taken the necessary actions, you are personally reliable with your personal values that you have, with your money. So, and with that, we have spoken about a lot of things, how Acronis helps the customers to create the right systems. But what is necessary is that the top management needs to be involved and needs to understand why this is critical. And this is something that we need to transport here, from my point of view.
Yeah, and I think that's what most of regulations they do, right? So until it is really mandatory, usually companies, they don't think about this.
Yeah, and we have to, and we have to understand, Cyber Resilience Act is not a standalone regulation. That is embedded into or combined and embedded with NIS2 and IEC 62443 and all the other standards and regulations. It's not a standalone thing. We have to comply with all the regulations that are out here. So, and if as a machine builder or an equipment provider at any place, you're not only shipping your goods into Europe, into the European market, where the CRA is most likely being the one that you have to cover. But if you ship to the US market, you have to comply with other regulations. So you have to make sure you understand all of them. That is very important. And as I said, once again, top management needs to be involved and needs to understand that that is their obligation.
Thank you. Biren, do you see influence in Americas of the upcoming CRA? Because most companies, they are large, and for sure, as Uwe mentioned, they ship all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the OEMs have to have a global, responsibility to meet all the compliance obligations around the world. So I think that the good thing with our partners is, if you look at the CRA requirements, they map very closely to modern cybersecurity principles and to the IEC 62443 concepts, but that the CRA legally enforces them. And so, these requirements are secure by design, secure by default architecture, lifecycle vulnerability management, demonstrable backup recovery capabilities, and that CE marking requires cybersecurity compliance. So the nice thing is that Acronis is the only business continuity vendor with IEC 62443 secure development lifecycle certification. So a partner, some of our partners leverage this right in their offerings as well. 62443 compliant, and they make it part of their marketing materials. But it's a massive advantage for any of our partners who want to be essentially a ready-made, CRA aligned technology, and they can leverage that right away as part of their product and their capabilities and their offering to their customers to meet the, it's on the mind of every end customer is I have to be CRA compliant 2027. And so having that alignment with 62443 will go a long way to meeting those kinds of obligations.
Thank you, Biren. Mina, would you like to add anything?
A couple of things here. So with CRA, we are talking about three main things that we need to focus on. One is embedded security and resilience by design, continuous vulnerability scanning and management and patching, and third is verifiable recovery capabilities. Now, if we mirror this exactly to what Acronis is offering, we offer embedded and natively cyber protection and backup, which is taking care of the embedded security and resilience day. We are providing fast recovery, reliable recovery with one-click recovery solution. And then we are providing centralized visibility and management with our centralized monitoring tool. So Acronis is actually mirroring the CRA compliance. And if you see our latest messaging as Acronis Protect, Manage, and Automate, this is also going with the CRA, right? So we protect, which is this with the embedded security and resilience days, which is our backup and recovery. We manage, we help you recover with one-click recovery because you know what's happening. And we automate because we can give you an automated dashboard that tells you what's going on and gives you a real-time reporting. So the CRA and Acronis and our product line actually goes side by side, and this actually complements the requirement for our OEMs and the end users. This is where I'd like to conclude.
Thank you so much, Mina. And on this note, I'd like to thank all of our speakers for sharing your expertise and welcome our solution engineer to the next part of our webinar to demonstrate how Acronis Cyber Protect Local can actually help in practice to OEMs. Sahil, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Julia. So let me just quickly walk you through what Acronis Cyber Protect looks like and how exactly it helps OT environments. So right now, what you're able to see in front of you is the Acronis Cyber Protect console, from where you manage and monitor all the devices, all the backups, and the policies. This is completely hosted on-prem. That means there is no cloud or no internet connectivity required. You host this solution completely on-prem at one of your servers where you install the application, and then the server acts as your Acronis management server. Across all the endpoints that you wish to protect, you simply go ahead and put agents on them. If it is a workstation or server, you simply go ahead and put a Windows, Linux agent on it. Or if it is a virtualized environment, you also get to either add the host or the VMs inside. We support agentless backups as well. That means you don't necessarily have to put agents on all the VMs. You can just, in fact, go ahead and add the host as well. But once you have added the machine that you wish to protect, you will be able to see all the machines here once the agent is deployed on them. And then you have the option to just go ahead and configure a backup or basically a protection plan on it. It's a very straightforward configuration. There is not a lot of complexity when it comes to configuring these protection plans. For example, let's say you want to configure the backups. You just need to, in very simple ways, answer a couple of questions like what you want to back up, where you want to store it, how frequently you want to perform the backup. For example, let's say I want to back up a SCADA machine. So I want to back up the whole machine. I want the operating system, applications, files and folders, everything to be backed up. So I choose the scope of the backup to be the whole machine, whereas you do have the option to go granular and just back up some volumes or folders as well. But let's say I want to back up the whole machine and then I define the storage. Like I have some storage map, which can be a NAS or a file server or a tape. I define that as my backup destination. I choose what should be my frequency. Do I want to like do daily backups or hourly backups or weekly or even monthly backups? I have that flexibility to choose. For example, let's say for the SCADA machine, I want to run it every day and I want to run it at some off-peak hours. And I want that all my backups should be incremental so that for the first time when I run this backup plan, it backups the whole data. But from the second backup onwards, it is going to check like what are the changes happening, what are the new files added, and only back up those incremental data. So that let's say you're backing up 100 GB data. So the day one can be 100 GB, but day two can be just 1 or 2 GB if you're just adding as much data. So this way it is going to save a lot of resources and time for the devices. Now, at the same time, you also have the option to make sure that these backups do not hamper your production. Like uh, Acronis Cyber Protect is anyways very well optimized for OT environments. So the consumption of the resources is already optimized. But in case you want that, okay, this should be further optimized based on your environment, you can also do that. You have the option to just cap the total output speed. For example, I want that not more than 40% of my bandwidth should be used for the backup. So my network is not basically taking a hit if all my backups are running at the same time. And the CPU priority can be by default low because the agent is already optimized to run on as low resources as possible. And this way I can basically optimize and ensure that my backup and my production both can go parallelly and I don't really have to have a specific window or a downtime to just perform my backups. You can also choose your own retention, like how long you want to keep these backups for. This can be multiple days, weeks, months, or in fact, years as well. So there is no limit on how long you can keep these backups for. If you want to, let's say, keep the backup for 3 years or 5 years, it's completely up to you. You can just go ahead and define it. Now, after this, if you want, you can also encrypt your backups. It's very much possible to encrypt the backups with industry standard AES 256-bit encryption. And that's kind of it that you have to define for configuring the backups. Once again, very simple. You don't really have to do a lot of things. It's just very simple configuration that you have to do. But at the same time, if you want to, let's say, configure also your anti-malware protection for Acronis or the patch management capabilities or vulnerability assessment, these can also be configured from the same backup plan or basically the same protection plan, where you don't really have to deploy multiple agents. You don't have to deploy or manage multiple management servers. You have just a single console to manage everything. And in fact, the same agent you put for the backup is also responsible for the other services. And again, it is configured from a single protection plan itself. You don't have to like juggle between multiple dashboard, multiple protection plans, multiple agents. You get to do everything from a single place. Now, once my protection plan is configured, it's defined on the machine. As I have configured, the backups will continue to run and I'll be able to see all of them here under my backup storage. So I'll be able to see what all backups I have taken, what is the total storage these backups are occupying. And if I need to recover them, I'll be able to do it from here itself. Now, we have a couple of different ways to perform these recoveries. Like for example, if I have a machine where just a couple of files got corrupted, I have the option to just perform a granular recovery. If you have taken a whole image level backup, it doesn't mean you have to do the recovery also on the image level only. You can just go ahead, pick and choose some certain files and recover them. It's a very straightforward and simple process. You just define like, okay, from this backup, these are the exact files I want to recover, and you will be able to do that. You just need to choose, define where you want to recover it, and that's it. So for example, I have this backup here that I want to recover, and I want to just recover some specific files and folders out of it. I'll be able to browse through the storage. I'll be able to choose, okay, this is one particular folder I want to recover. I can click on recover. It will just let me choose the path and destination after putting my credentials for the storage. So for example, I put my details for this, and now I can choose the device. I can choose the path and just click on start recovery. It's very straightforward and simple. You can just define everything here and do the recoveries. Now, in case I don't want to recover some specific files and folder, and instead I want to perform a whole image level recovery, maybe the SCADA system I was trying to back up just went down, and I want to recover it from the last backup that I had taken. So for this, you have a couple of ways. Let's say it's a very simple scenario where maybe the machine went to a blue screen. So the machine was running for years and something got corrupted. Maybe some patch was getting installed and it didn't go well, and now the machine is in a blue screen state, and you want to recover it from the last backup. So you have the option called Acronis one-click recovery. It's a very simple and straightforward recovery option where you just reboot your system, you press F11 key, and then you get to see the screen where the first option says just recover this backup from the last backup. Once you select that, it simply goes ahead and starts recovering the machine from the last backup. So you don't really have to worry about like understanding a lot of things like how the backups like run or where the backups are stored or nothing at all. So anybody who is in front of the machine will be able to perform this recovery in very simple steps. Literally just restart the machine, press F11 key, and select the first option, recover this machine from the last backup, and that's it. The machine gets recovered from the last backup. So this one-click recovery makes it possible for anyone in front of the machine to be able to perform recoveries. And that is the beauty of this feature. Now, at the same time, you have other options as well. Like for example, if the machine completely crashed, maybe let's say the hardware itself went bad and you're not really able to boot the machine, and now you want to like recover this machine, but on a different hardware. You have Acronis bootable media, which is an ISO image. You can put it on a pen drive and you can use that to boot any machine and perform recoveries on it. So this can be, again, a very useful tool. Apart from this, when it comes to monitoring and reporting, you have end-to-end extensive capabilities here. You have this dashboard where you can see the status of all the backups, whether all the backups are running fine or not. If something goes wrong, you will be able to see those alerts over here. You can also like generate reports out of it. You can either customize this dashboard, like drag and drop widgets, remove something if you don't need it, or add more widgets from the whole library, and then be able to export these in PDF or Excel formats. Or if you want to create your own custom reports, that is as well possible. You can just go ahead and create reports. Like for example, I need a report on alerts. I need a report maybe on the daily activities which are running on the machines. Or if you want to just create a new report altogether, all of this is possible. You can like create your own custom reports, and you always have the option to export them in PDF or Excel formats. So this was a very quick overview of Acronis Cyber Protect and how it helps in OT environment. Now I would like to hand the stage back to Yulia. Thank you so much, Yulia.
Thank you so much, Sahil, for the great presentation. I hope now it's really clear how Acronis can support OEMs in keeping resilient and making sure that if something happened, they can quickly recover even without immediate IT support. And I would like to show you several resources that we offer for you to learn about. So we have several case studies, data sheet where you can deep dive what systems we support, how we help OT and OEMs. And recently we also launched a new tool, Downtime Calculator, which is also possible to use with your customers and for yourself. And our OEM experts also going to be happy to help you if you have any questions. Yeah, we have several analyst reports and few more actually we're waiting to come. We will place all information on our landing page and we'll send you the recording and possibility to try our product with free trial for 30 days or connect with our team after this webinar within 48 hours. And thank you so much for joining us today. It was really fruitful conversation and we hope to hear back from you. Thank you so much.